Shalom. First, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. And I don't know if you've been keeping up in the news, but Europe, the European Union, is starting to turn against America. So we have Bible prophecy, coming to pass. And ain't nothing you so-called Negroes, Latinos, or Native Americans can do to stop it. Esau can't stop this. The heathens. Esau trying to get up there with all his magi's and cast spells and try to communicate with the spiritual demon Satan, which they don't know that Satan is on the Most High side and Satan is working for the Most High Yahweh. They think they can, circumvent prophecy, man. But it's steadily coming to pass, man. We almost out of here. When I'm saying we, I'm talking about the elect. Lord willing, I'm of that number. Man, it's all coming to pass, man. And every single prophecy is going to be fulfilled before we get out of here. Let's get some of this article. It says Trump's team sees Europe's erasure. Europeans see a hostile U.S. A new U.S. national security strategy berating Europe has triggered a wave of acrimony across the Atlantic, enraging and dismaying European officials who say the document has turned the Trump administration vitriol against European democracies into formal policy. President Donald Trump's push to halt the war in Ukraine on terms favorable to Russia and the European Union's announcement Friday of a roughly $140 million fine against X for violating the bloc's digital rules have fueled the fire, pushing transatlantic relations to their lowest point since Trump returned to the White House in January. And as you see, it says since the lowest point since Trump returned. Elon Musk, the owner of X, is calling for abolishing the EU, and the Trump supporters are railing against the 27-nation bloc. European officials describe the regulations as a matter of sovereignty and say they are trying to stop abuses by behemoth American technology companies. Tensions erupted after U.S. strategy painted the EU as a bigger threat than Russia or China and said Europe risks civilizational erasure because immigrants and progressive social policies. The document lays bare the depth of the rift in the 80-year-old Western alliance of European officials said, and analysts say, and serves as proof that the European nations should strive for greater military independence. In one snarky retort, Poland's foreign minister Radoslaw Sikorski wrote that gun deaths are an interesting metric of erasure, noting that there were nearly 7 times as many per year in the United States as in the EU. Other commentators have directed their ear at the American foods banned in Europe because of chemical additives. From the start of Trump's term, the president's inner circle has bashed Europe. Vice President J.D. Vance delivered the first broadside in February in a speech at Munich Secretary Conference, in which the accused European governments of censoring political opponents, especially the far right, by restricting hate speech, and he alleged that they created horrors by accepting too many immigrants that have also been disputed over tariffs and regulation. Yeah, so basically, it's over money. You got the EU funding all kind of, money to Ukraine over this Ukraine-Russia war. And Trump has, supposedly, got paperwork started to withdraw from NATO. And the EU is up in an uproar, man. They're in an uproar. And it's all got to do with biblical prophecy. Elon pretty much, he got fined like over $100 million about not censoring speech over in the EU. And as you know, in America, and pretty much all over the world though, but primarily here in America, because I live here in Babylon, we know the billionaires and the donors, the lobbyists run the country, man, the bankers, and so on and so on. The American people, the actual everyday citizen, don't have a say-so in anything. You just gotta, take the brunt from it. So I'm sure Elon is in his ear telling him, hey, you need to put some power on these motherfuckers because they fined me $100-something million and I need you to get rid of this. And so that Trump is doing what he told because Elon pumped a lot of cash into his campaign. So Trump owes him. So, but whatever the case may be, with it all boils down to money and power with Esau Edom. He's not this difficult person to understand, man. As being the hopeful elect, but as one of the men of the Lord, we know exactly what we're dealing with this beast known as Esau Edom. We know what makes him tick. We know where he comes from, and we know where he's going. This man is not hard to figure out. Once Yahweh Bashim Yahushua has opened your eyes up to the way this serpent moves. Let's get some precepts. This is Revelation 17 and 16. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Yeah, the beast is being mentioned in this scripture, this precept. It's talking about NATO and the EU. NATO being the military arm, and the EU being the financial, political arm of the beast. And the whore is talking about America, Babylon. And as you could see from the article, if you want to go to MSN and check it out, the beast is starting to hate the whore, and it's being known private. And none of these so-called Christian scholars, are bringing this out. They don't know the prophecies, man. They weren't given the eye salve like the man of the Lord. The elect is going to understand all these prophecies, these breakdowns, and see it. And we're seeing it unfold right before our very eyes, man. And it's a beautiful thing. It just lets me know that, we almost the fuck out of here, man. They just call out. They keep ramping it up, saying we must prepare for a war greater than our grandparents and, great-grandparents, talking about World War III. And that previous war was World War II. So NATO's calling for that. They bringing it out that they got troops from Britain, over in Ukraine that's being killed. So they setting the stage to let man, they getting ready to go full on World War III. They starting the drafts back up over in Europe for men and women. Man, it's about to be over, man. It's about to be fucking over. This is Jeremiah 15:12. Your mother shall be sore confounded that she she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness and a dry land and a desert. So yeah, your mother who bore you is Great Britain, and she's going to be confounded, and said, and she that bare you shall be ashamed. Yeah, she's going to be ashamed. I'm sure she's feeling the shame right now. The great old Great Britain out of the UK. Because America, under Trump, which the Most High got him doing it, is out of control. And there's nothing like Great Britain. Not getting in line and playing ball. Even though Great Britain, is not a part of the EU, but they all Edomite connected, man. They all with the European Union and everybody on that side of the, earth, the eastern side over there, they still have some type of business dealings going on. They're all fucking Edomites, man. It's all Edomite, a power structure, a power struggle, man. And they all dealing with each other. So we're going to see, Great Britain, they're going to be really sore and confounded when they see this place known as America set on fire from the thermonuclear missiles, man. They're going to see it and be like, oh, America fell, if they even make it through the tsunamis and things like that. I don't know if they're going to be hit with thermonuclear ICBM missiles, for sure. But one thing I do know, their power is going to be diminished and put out once this World War III goes thermonuclear, man. And, Esau is going to go down and Jacob's going to come up. Because for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of that followeth, man. So, Lord willing, not Lord willing, but, we're getting ready to rule, we're getting ready to rule, man, be on top forever. But this Daniel 7:20, it says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that the horn that had great eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than its fellows. And the look that was more stout than its fellows is talking about America, Babylon, because America is very arrogant and proud than the rest of the other Edomite, pretty much power structure, the EU, Great Britain. America say, hey, I got more money than all y'all. My military is stronger. It's saying my military is stronger. We don't need you. Matter of fact, Trump just came out and said, hey, the EU is weak. So the beast is hating the whore, and the whore is starting to hate the beast. But the beast is going to shoot those thermonuclear missiles on the whore, though, and burn her desolate too, man, along with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, France, which is part of the beast. But all these places that the Most High, let have thermonuclear missiles, they're going to shoot it on America, man. They're going to turn against this place, and it's going to be burnt to a crisp. So it's up there, and Jake's still playing around. Jake's still looking stupid, and just being on nigga time, man. But I'm glad everything's about to hit the fan for you niggas, and you're going to be eventually just wiped off the earth too, if you're here in America, known as Babylon in the scriptures. You're going to be nuked, or if you don't get caught up in Jacob's trouble, which is a part of Jacob's trouble too, is the nukes. But I'm talking about the military aspect, the martial law, the famine, the sword, the pestilences. So fuck you niggas, man. Before I get out of here, I'm gonna give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakadash, Shalom.